This episode contains topics that may be sensitive to some listeners. Check out the show notes for more information. Thank you for tuning in.
Welcome to After Bells with Regulus Reinhardt. Joining us tonight is Erasmus van Vught from the New Democratic People's Party. In the months leading up to the election, I will be talking to a party leader every week about their most important topics. Welcome, Erasmus. Tell me, how are you feeling about the chances this time?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Regulus. I'm feeling good about this year. Our aim is to speak for the citizens of New Vilirth as a whole, and I think my team is doing an excellent job at giving everyone a voice. We can never predict the outcome, but I feel that whoever wins, my team and I have done everything we could.
Indeed. And what would you say are the most important topics the NDPP is focusing on?
Rebuilding, mostly. In the broadest sense. New Vilirth has a long history, and due to our unfortunate geographical location, we have been struggling. Crime rates are at an all-time high, and half of the city is abandoned. Now, that doesn't sound anything like the thriving city we once were. The underground is a problem area we would like to address. There's a lot of organized crime, drug abuse and poverty. And while Mayor Lindegaard and her party have done a valiant job, we think it's time for a change. We would like to rebuild New Vilirth above ground and throw those dark places into the sunlight so unsavory figures can no longer hide in the shadows. It's ambitious, yes, but the technology is here and we can start improving the city by using it.
I'd say that's definitely ambitious. However, I've heard more politicians talk about the rebuilding of New Vilirth and closing down the underground. Are you willing to collaborate with other parties to get a majority?
Well, that depends entirely on what the other parties are willing to do. But we are certainly not against discussing it, no.
I am curious to know how you think you are going to displace all these civilians currently living in the underground.
That will remain a difficult topic, of course. But we aim to do this as humanely as possible.
Thank you, Erasmus. We'll continue on the other topics after this short break. You are listening to After Bells with me, Regulus Reinhardt. Stay tuned.
There's a rot in the heart of this city.
The New Vilirth Metropolitan warns about the dangers of a new drug overtaking the streets.
The government launched a campaign against the use of neomorphic memories.
This city's nothing but copper and visions of the past.
It's a black day. For all of us.
Who doesn't dream of the times gone by?
Unsavory figures can no longer hide in the shadows.
Such is my promise.
Wake up, New Vilirth. Chapter 9. Burn the powder. Over the years, I figured out how to make myself valuable. I used the one thing that my family had condemned me to, being invisible. For a Dukalfar, I was rather small, allowing me to blend in better with humans. Sure, the grey color of my skin gave it away if you looked hard enough, but in a big city like this, no one ever did. And whatever skin wasn't hidden by a wide-brimmed hat or a scarf, I hid with a bit of makeup. I wasn't exceptionally pretty, like Nadya, nor did I have Konstantin's status. In this family, as a woman, I would never be heir. The only thing people noticed was my white hair. But when I was out and about, I'd find ways to cover that up. I took pride in my wig collection. Tonight, I'd changed my hair for a short and blonde number that I lovingly called M.A. Yes, I did have too much time on my hands. What else was I supposed to do? I couldn't annoy my cousin all day. On occasion, it still frustrated me. But the invisibility was better than my family noticing me too much and pointing out all of my flaws. Konstantin didn't bother to check where I was going. My father or my uncle could have easily paid someone to follow me, yet they didn't. The truth was, they didn't see me as an asset, let alone a threat. If I were gone for bells on end, no one noticed. The meeting was about to end. I didn't only know because the last round of questions were being asked, but because of the crowd's energy, buzzing with the anticipation to bring forth change. In this city, there were many meetings like this. I had been to most, if not all of them. They never led to anything. Technically, I did not need these initiatives to succeed. I just needed to know what they discussed. It was my way of survival. I kept an eye on everything. That was my currency. I even sat in the booth behind a local pool club when they had their meetings once a moon at table 6 in the sandbar. Most of the conversations I heard were nonsense, until they weren't. I had been drinking tea in the parlor where the History Society met. A right bunch of gossips. When I heard about the change of leadership in the Onneira vanguard, Ulva Rasanen had taken over from Aleksandri Rasanen as the renewed and sober leader. My family pretended not to care about the happenings in the underground. They dealt in real business, but I knew better. To understand this city, you needed to know all sides. The information slipped in between conversations on the dreadful weather and the latest book on 8th century ironwork was what I needed. Unfortunately, this meeting hadn't yielded anything. It had only watered that small seed of hope for change that sat buried deep in my chest. But like any hopeful meeting, this one would soon be suppressed. Either it would never make the step from words into action, or the leader turned out to be a scammer only out for people's contribution. This woman hadn't looked like a scammer, though. But usually, that was the point. I filed out with the crowd and checked the time on my transmitter. I'd have to hurry to catch Konstantin. I hopped on the bus, squeezing between the undergrounders. I couldn't reach anything to hold on to, but the crowd held me upright. A small part of me enjoyed the idea of Nadya's disgusted face if she could see me standing here. I caught him as he stepped outside. Of course, he was dressed in his usual suit and a long coat. Yet there was something at his belt he was fumbling with. You brought a gun?
I know how to use it.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think that's a good idea. I kept a healthy distance from my cousin. After our disagreement, I felt jumpy around him. I had avoided the house as much as I could, but I hadn't gone back to my parents either. The damage wasn't bad. A few days of headaches, nothing that would last. In our family, the men did these things, sooner or later. For Konstantin, it happened later, even if I had started to hope it would be never.
I have to go.
He got in the car. I followed him in.
What are you doing?
Coming with? He looked at the chauffeur.
Wait!
I feigned being casual, even though my heart was pounding. I didn't want to get him mad, but I wanted to come along, be involved. This was my plan, after all. He wouldn't be here if it weren't for me.
I have to let them in and out of the mines. It's not going to be some epic adventure.
Nadya wanted you to have a bodyguard. It was a lie. A half-lie. Nadya did want that, but she hadn't asked me. I just made sure her messages hadn't arrived to those she did.
So she sent you?
You want me to ask one of Kazimir's guards?
No.
I won't be bothersome. You won't even notice me, I promise.
Fine. But we aren't going inside. They're doing the dirty work.
He met the chauffeur's eyes in the rearview mirror.
Go.
We swerved around a corner and into an alleyway that barely left a hand's width between the hover and the building. Konstantin and I were strapped to the 2 seats at the back. It was strange to meet them. Somehow, after all the stories, I had made Rhea and her entourage out to be epic warriors. But they were just people. Well, except for Rhea, who carried herself as a warrior with her long, lean body and multitude of weapons. Her attire looked nothing like what me or my cousin wore, as if she didn't exist in the same world we did. I glanced at Konstantin, who was staring straight ahead. If his armrest had been of anything but metal, his fingers would have left marks. He saw me look at him and unclasped his fingers. Konstantin had suggested we take his car, to which Rhea had promptly laughed in his face. I didn't blame her. It did seem stupid to arrive at a job like this with a chauffeur. Rhea had counteroffered to take us in their less conspicuous hover, although I suspected it was less of an offer and more of a strict suggestion. I didn't mind. I had never been in a hover. So far, the experience was mostly loud and more uncomfortable than a car. There was barely enough space to sit in the hovercraft. To call it a 4-seater was generous. Their mechanic, Tuula, had been demoted to a bunk bed in the cabin, although she didn't seem to mind. She was lounging, without a buckle. Her short hair was tucked behind her ears as she read a book. I frowned at the cover. It was the user manual for a radio.
What's that sound?
I had been able to ignore it for the first part of the journey, but it was starting to worry me.
Oh, don't worry. Won't fall off. It's the paneling on the outside. I haven't had time to properly fix it. What happened to it?
I glanced at where the rattling came from. Now that I paid attention, I noticed the panel was different from the rest. It was welded together rather haphazardly.
We were attacked by a Neek out in the desert. If it looks dodgy, that's because it is.
I adjusted the headphones on my ear. They pressed into my temple. The sounds that came through the headphones sounded more like sand than words. Willow looked over her shoulder and smirked. Tuula stuck out her tongue.
You do it next time, then.
I watched the exchange, unable to keep a smile from my face. Nadya and Konstantin had never talked to each other or me without sounding like the weight of the world was upon them. Nor had anyone else I knew. These girls had fun, despite everything.
How was it to go into the desert?
I leaned forward, intrigued.
It was approaching the northern tunnel.
She did have that serious tone that Konstantin always had. I turned around on my chair and leaned forward to watch the map on Rhea's navigation screen. It showed the underground system, a second transparent layer detailing the new Vilirth streets lay over it. Willow steered around a corner and we left a narrow alleyway. Then we dove straight into the ground and into the underground tunnels. I didn't even know he knew curses. Under any other circumstances, I would have laughed at him, but right now I needed to support him. We were on the same side, in an unknown hover with a group that I couldn't entirely guess the intentions of, even though I was the one who recommended Konstantin to approach them. The darkness inside the tunnels was different from the light-polluted darkness outside. The northern tunnel was barely used, so it wasn't as well lit. How Willow managed to steer through here without hitting anything was beyond me. The headlights of the hover lit up a figure in the dark.
Watch out! Fuck! Calm down! I saw them.
Sorry. Now I was the one with my hands clamped around the armrests.
What are they doing here? They are addicts. They live in the abandoned tunnels. Don't tell me you've never seen an addict.
She, much like Nadya, had a talent for making people feel stupid. I wanted to snap back, but remembered that this was not the time nor the place. Konstantin looked at me as if to warn me.
I have. I just thought you were going to hit them.
I thought I had, but when I visited the underground, I always stayed around the center. Of course, I had come across addicts that dwelled around the districts, but these people felt different. Like feral animals.
It'd be good riddance.
I waited for someone to protest, but no one did.
They don't deserve to die. They don't deserve to live like this either.
Was she accusing us?
Aren't you the one selling memories?
All three women glared at him. It was clear that that was the wrong question to ask.
Let's not get into who here is most guilty of the state of this city.
I silently agreed. I glanced behind me to where Tuula sat. She hadn't looked up from the manual, but was staring at the same place. That seed in my stomach burned. Not with hope, but something akin to it. Determination, perhaps. I'd do something about this. One day. Outside, small buildings, if you could even call them that, lined some of the platforms, but most of the tunnel was either empty or filled with trash and sand. Occasionally, I spotted a figure.
Hold on!
Willow turned the wheel. I didn't blame him. I saw the building loom up in front of us.
Watch out!
It was made of corrugated sheets of metal and rotten wooden beams, and we were going to fly right into it.
Watch out, we're going to crash!
At the last second, Willow twisted her steering wheel to the right, and we came out of the underground through one of its many exits. Clearly, she was the only one enjoying it. I guess I could appreciate that, but I still felt slightly sick. The change was instant. Instead of buildings, a sudden emptiness spread out around us. In the open space, we seemed to hover motionless just above the sand. The mountains in the distance barely came closer as time passed. I looked out of the window and saw the world still moving beside us. What was once a neighborhood was buried in the sand, buildings stuck through the desert. Most of them had crumbled to ruins. A sandy road snaked beneath us towards the mountains, following what I assumed must have been a railroad once. A truck rumbled past in the opposite direction, heading towards New Vilirth. It left a cloud of dust behind, obscuring our view, but Willow continued along, her eyes on the radar.
Take a right here.
He didn't allow the shaking of his hands to sound through in his voice.
The road signs will stop, but you can continue towards the mountain. No one will come this way.
Can't you get us through the main gates?
She turned onto another sandy path regardless. It didn't show on her map. Konstantin had refused to share it with them. Why it was that after all he had shared, he got stuck on that part, I couldn't understand. I supposed he wanted to keep some of the power. Not a bad move, but next to their weapons, it seemed kind of pointless.
It's better if we aren't seen.
I looked at my cousin.
Is the press still there?
Yes, probably.
He was looking up ahead. I frowned. Konstantin glanced at me.
Look, no one is using that entrance. It's far easier. Perhaps it's best if you turn the lights off, too.
It sounds a lot like a break-in. It does!
Willow sounded more excited than was appropriate. She turned off the lights. Besides the occasional truck in the distance and the city behind us, we hovered in complete darkness. For a moment, I was too distracted by the beauty of the landscape. I had never gone this far away from the city. As I watched the desert pass underneath us, it began to dawn on me.
You didn't tell Kazimir, did you? About the plan?
Should I have been surprised? What we were doing wasn't exactly legal. Still, Konstantin was usually one for rules. He didn't respond.
Oh, we have a rebel here.
I opened my mouth to ask more questions, but Konstantin shot me a warning glance. For once, I listened and kept my mouth shut. I stepped out in a cloud of sand. The hover stood near an entrance that, from afar, hadn't looked that big. Now that it towered above me, I felt smaller than ever. Abandoned mining equipment stood in the opening of the cave, and a minecart track dove into the darkness. Next to the opening, an elevator shaft was carved out of the stone. The elevator, which comprised of nothing more than a few metal bars, looked like it hadn't been used in a while.
Lead the way.
The walk will take a while.
He was already wearing his full-faced mask and air filter. I put on my own mask, adjusting it until it felt somewhat comfortable.
Right.
Willow shouldered her sniper rifle. Rhea was carrying a sack with whatever weapon she had brought. It only now started to sink in what they were doing.
I brought extra guns.
I glanced at the girl and laughed nervously. Tuula returned it with a nervous grin and held out a bag.
Do you want one for security?
She wasn't kidding.
No, thanks. I'm good.
We aren't here to fight. That's your job.
He clambered out of the hover and dusted off his suit and coat. Sure, I wasn't wearing a jumpsuit like Tuula, but at least I'd opted to wear pants that could get dirty instead of going for a tailored suit.
We'll lead the way, and then you can do your thing.
Good. Get walking then, since that's your job.
Konstantin gritted his teeth. Before long, they would be at each other's throats. I just hoped it wouldn't be while we were deep in the caves with a cranier on the loose. I readjusted the dust mask and followed Konstantin. He walked up to the panel next to the elevator. He blocked the code he typed in with his body and turned a key in the panel. The elevator rumbled to life with the least confidence-inspiring sound an elevator could make. We filed into it. It was more of an iron cage than anything. Konstantin flicked on a flashlight and hung it from the raster ceiling. He stepped into the corner, holding his arms stiffly next to him. The elevator shut down. The walls of the cave slid past us. The rattling of the elevator sounded worse than the hover had. I never thought twice about elevators, but I would hate to get stuck in this one. The elevator came to a clanking halt and stepped out into complete darkness. Konstantin unhooked his flashlight from the elevator. Our 4 flashlights flicked on. The minecart tracks continued here, leading further into the maze of tunnels. Konstantin was holding an illuminated map in his hand that bathed his face in a green glow. In this light, with his long coat and his leather bag slung across his chest, he looked more like a detective or even an adventurer than a businessman. Perhaps my cousin had dressed for the occasion. I hurried to catch up with him.
Did you tell your father?
He knows some parts.
Just not the part where you bring 3 Oneo into his mines?
He asked me to fix it. He is too busy to discuss all the details of the plan with.
I doubted Kazimir would be too busy for this, but it was, after all, my idea, so I kept my mouth shut. We kept walking, Konstantin's map leading us onward. I didn't allow myself to think about what would happen if we got lost. With the only sounds to distract me being our footsteps, it was hard not to. Rhea kept up with us, striding fast with long legs. Willow was on our heels, but Tuula had fallen behind. I stopped. Even Konstantin waited. Tuula averted her eyes. She hurried to catch up.
Sorry. The leg needs tweaking.
Confused, I glanced down at her boots, noticing nothing out of the ordinary. Tuula held up her metal arm.
What percentage of metal do you need to have to officially be considered a cyborg?
It didn't seem that funny at all. I stood for a moment, unsure what to say.
Let's continue.
Willow was already walking ahead. Rhea and Tuula glanced at each other and followed her. Their looks did not give me confidence. I could still go back. I didn't have to be here. I ignored my hesitation. The tunnels seemed endless. How people could stand working here day after day was beyond me.
We're here.
It wasn't Konstantin that spoke. It was Willow.
You've been here before?
I'd say it's clear. We're here.
It wasn't. Not until I shone my flashlight around. The walls sparkled in response. Ridges blinked back at us. I stared. But ridges weren't the only thing that stood out. Parts of the cavern had collapsed. A lone helmet lay on the ground, flattened by a rock about the size of a head.
Is this where the miners are stuck?
Yes. It happened down that shaft.
He pointed to the right. It was mostly crumbled rocks. Only a small opening remained, or was dug out by the rescue team. There were likely people under those rocks. My stomach rolled. Tuula stepped forward, but Rhea took her arm.
He's still there!
We can see if we can do something after we're done. It isn't safe here.
While she said it, she looked at Willow. It seemed like a request for help, but Willow wasn't paying attention. She was staring ahead.
It's time for you to go.
She scanned the cavern with her flashlight, planning. She was right. It was time for us to go, but still, curiosity kept me there. I wanted to see what she could do. Suddenly, Rhea halted her light at a latch halfway up the wall.
Fuck.
5 large quartz stones lit up in the flashlight. Willow exchanged looks with Rhea.
Are those?
Eggs.
We all turned to Konstantin.
You failed to mention that.
It didn't feel necessary. Those eggs will be taken out of the cave as soon as we fix the problem at hand.
I looked between him and Rhea.
Not necessary? We're dealing with a mother here.
The way Rhea spoke made it clear she didn't mean the sweet and caring kind. The sudden urge to get out of here overwhelmed me. Shame washed over me. Did Konstantin truly understand what we sent those miners into every day? I certainly hadn't.
Is this a problem for you?
Rhea stared him down, but Konstantin stood his ground.
We could still go ahead with the plan.
There was a wobble in her voice. Her hands were white around the barrel of her rifle. Apparently I wasn't the only one doubting their choices. Rhea didn't seem to notice, though.
Go.
With that one word, both Willow and Tuula came into action. Tuula took a device from her bag. It was flat and unassuming. She placed it in the middle of the cave. Willow started loading her sniper rifle.
It's time to go.
Nerves crept in his voice.
Oh, no, you won't.
She didn't break eye contact as she took out a gun. For a moment, I thought she was going to shoot him.
Konstantin!
Let's call dear mommy, shan't we?
No! Wait, Sasha and I need to get him.
Before Konstantin could finish his stumbling sentence, Rhea fired. The blast of the bullet broke the egg from where it sat nestled against the wall. It tumbled down.
No!
He started forward, but I pulled him back by the back of his jacket. The egg smashed onto the floor in 1,000 shimmering pieces, and the sound seemed to do the same. It echoed through the cave, bouncing back and forward.
Are you crazy?
My words joined the echoes.
That thing weighs 10 times as much as you! Quiet!
I glared at her, but kept quiet. We listened. We should be getting the hell out of here. Konstantin grabbed my arm and pulled me back.
We need to go.
True fear shone in his yellow eyes. What did we have between us? One gun? It cut through me. I pressed my hands over my ears. It felt as though they were bleeding. Rhea recovered first.
Get ready.
Tuula stepped back from the device she had placed on the ground. Willow set the rifle against her shoulder and Rhea pulled out a gun.
That's not going to do anything against it.
Pure terror rang through his voice.
Stand back.
Stay behind me.
What? No, I'm not going to hide.
Is there a tunnel that leads to the front entrance?
What?
Check it, now. Where do these tunnels lead to?
There were 2, if you didn't count the one we just came from, nor the one that had collapsed.
That one left leads to the front entrance, sort of.
Tuula, take Sasha and head to the other side. If anything goes awry, you get out.
Got it.
Sasha, wait!
Konstantin held out the map, his finger moving over the glowing green lines.
We're here. This road leads to the front entrance. Get out. If you start running now, you'll be far away from here once that thing comes. We'll distract it.
I took the map.
I'm not running, Konstantin!
Tuula, wait for my signal.
Rhea turned to Konstantin.
You, get out of my way.
Run!
I ignored him and ran after Tuula, who was already halfway across the cavern. Running felt strange. My legs barely wanted to listen to me. I had no fear, but I had never felt this terrified. And now that I thought of it, I'd like to stay alive for a bit longer. Tuula halted before the collapsed part of the wall.
We'll have a good overview here.
She didn't move. On closer inspection, her hands were shaking. She clasped them tighter around the small object she was holding.
Tuula, get ready.
It spurred her into action. I followed and tried not to think of what might be under here. In my haste, I slipped multiple times. My knees were scraped and bruised, but no more than my ego. Tuula already stood at the top of the pile of rubble, watching the entire thing. She held out her hand. It was cold and clammy, but strong.
What is that?
I nodded at the device in her mechanical hand.
A remote?
To what?
Tuula pointed at the thing she had put in the middle of the cavern.
Something I made.
The sound sliced through me, and then something burst through the wall. Straight through the wall. In between the explosion of the sound of rock bursting apart and the beast roaring, I heard a voice scream.
Now!
I had one chance to look at the beast. It was reptilian, but that was where the comparison with anything I knew stopped. It was big. I didn't know what I had expected, but it was bigger than that. It crawled on 4 large claws, and it was fast. Its skin, if you could even call it that, was made from stone and gleamed with a layer of copper dust. Konstantin cowered at the mouth of the shaft we had come out of, and Rhea and Willow sprang into action.
What can I do?
Sit still and wait.
I hate that.
There's power in that too. In waiting. Until the right moment.
I guessed she was younger than I was, but still, the weight of her words made her feel older. Next to her, I felt young and inexperienced. She had already lived through a lifetime. I looked back and saw Rhea jumping around the beast. Muffled shots came from her gun. They didn't do anything to the beast, but make it mad. And that was apparently exactly what they needed. Rhea dodged the beast by a hair as it jumped towards her.
Konstantin, watch out!
I wasn't thinking. He stood in the shadows, staring at the beast and seemed in no place to move. But my call didn't just warn Konstantin. The beast turned, its black eyes glinted in the light of Tuula's flashlight, and it started running.
Tuula, now!
The beast was right above Tuula's device. Tuula pressed the button. And nothing happened.
No! No! Why isn't it working?
She pressed it again and again, and she slammed her fist down on it, but the moment had passed. The beast was closing in on us.
Wake Up New Vilirth is created, produced and written by Lisa van Hees. Directed and co-produced by Iris-sanne van der Aar. Our brilliant team of voices consists of Carré Albers as Willow, Sigrid van Setten as Rhea, Swaeske Dooper-de Vries as Tuula, Liam van Poorten as Konstantin, Samantha Bonouvrie as Sasha, Fey Lehiane as Nadya, Yannick Staal as Kazimir, Freya Terpstra as Ulva, Klay van Peer as Isno, Fey Lehiane, Lin Schalken, Joris van de Waterbeent, Tom van Hull and Daan Helmendach as our radio hosts, and Reno van Oostrum, Ezra Menard, and Isa Marley as our supporting voices. Sound recording by Lisa van Hees and Jonas van Impe. Sound design by Lode Woltersom. Music by Freya Terpstra and Teun Zeidner. Radio design by Joris van de Waterbeent. Directing assistance by Tom van Hull. Production assistance by Demi Oude Elverink, Femke Bruil, Robert Kersies en Isa Marley. and cover art by Matt Roodhuizen. For a full list of our wonderful team, go to wakeupnewvilirth.com. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed your stay.